I've been waiting for you. I'm Taren S, a High Priestess of traditional witchcraft, and I've been brewing magic for almost 40 years now. Come on in. Let's brew some together. Hello, hello. I am so excited about this video, guys. I had the opportunity to talk with a Detroit conjuring woman, root worker, Krystal from Living Worlds Botanica in Detroit. We actually met at WitchCon, and talking with her, I realized that we need more voices like that, all right? You guys talk about wanting to listen to your elders, listening to folks that this is part of their life. I mean, she's a fourth generation root worker. This is her life, all right? And so I was so excited when she agreed to just letting us have a casual conversation about something that's really important to both of us. This is how we bonded. We bonded over the spirit of the root. And we ended up having a great conversation. And I thought, this is, other folks need to hear what we're saying. And so I hope you all really, really enjoy. And I hope I get to get her back on here. She has her shop, Bridging Worlds. She's going to kill me is what she's going to do, because I got her spray. Let me get back here, witches. All right. Bridging Worlds. I don't know why I can't get that out of my mouth. Bridging Worlds Botanica. I just got this a couple of days ago, and I hadn't had a good bay rum cleansing spray in at least a decade. And so as soon as I got a whiff of this, I was like, oh, she's the real deal, is what I'm saying, y'all. So listen to this woman's words. They're very, very wise. And I want to thank y'all. I want to give a real quick woohoo out there. 4,000 subscribers. Who would have thought? I know I sure didn't. And it's all because of you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are working hard on bringing more of our different magic folks, diversity, the trend word, but our magical community is diverse. And so it's so important that we get out there, listen to what other magic folks are doing. And with that said, I am going to go to a casual chat with Krystal from Bridging Worlds Botanica on the spirit of the root. Hello, Krystal! I am so excited to have you here with me today.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
It is so, well, I don't think a lot of folks understand when we talk in the Conjuring, because I made a point of saying you're a Detroit conjurer. Mm-hmm. We talk about regional flavors, and the Conjuring community has a very strong northern flavor. We often think of them that we're only Southerners, but that's not our truth.
Not at all. Right.
And so we have a really strong community up north, and we also have a very large community out in the Texas, Alabama area, as well around Houston, and which I find really fascinating, how we have moved around over these past couple of 100 years. So all you witches out there, please give a warm welcome to Krystal from Bridging Worlds Botanica.
Yes. Thank you so much, Taren S. I appreciate the invite. I always love and just chatting with you. It's just such a joy, such a joy. So yes, I am in Detroit. I was born and raised. I live in my ancestral home, which is where I am currently. And it's true when you talk about like conjure, root work, hoodoo. It's always based upon the South, but guess what? People migrated from the South up north. They didn't leave their talents and their gifts in the South, and they left. They brought them with us. And I get to work that same stuff that my people did. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We think about the trip that it's made, because at its heart, Hoodoo Conjuring comes to us through our African magic. And then it made it first from there just to the shores of America. And then later on, it makes it up to Detroit. You know, that's part of the global magic. I figure, we're going to have the next jump over. Pretty soon we're going to be all around, but I think we already are, and we don't realize it. And today I want to talk about, because you're right, we'll just sit and talk all day, witches.
Baby, I know it. I got my fizzy water. Let's go, sis. Let's go.
We will just talk all day, but I want to talk about the spirit of the root, because this is something that I see a lot of new folks think that you just buy this herb, sprinkle it, say these words, and ooh, I made a work and I made magic.
Right. Bless their hearts. Right.
That's a real polite way. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Bless your stupid, ignorant ass heart. Okay.
Bless your pig heart.
Because conjuring at its heart is about spirit.
Absolutely.
And connecting to it and understanding that everything has spirit.
Absolutely.
It's everything everywhere, and it's for us to connect to it. And so I want to hear you talk about this.
All righty. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As you stated, I am the owner of Bridging Worlds Botanica here in Detroit. And I love that you want to talk about the spirit, right? Because in every folk magic, every religion, every spirituality, there is a spirit that is at the base of that, right? And I think that with the advent of social media, with Hollywood, with all these other different influences, it's almost like, oh, I'm just going to go pick this flower and suddenly I'm beautiful. You know what I mean? And that's where people become incredibly disappointed, because their outcomes are not what they were expecting. And their outcomes were not what they were expecting because they didn't know the proper process, right? Everything has a spirit. Herbs have spirits. Fire. You can't tell me that fire doesn't have a mind of its own. Scientifically, water has memories.
Yes.
Right? So there's always this beautiful spirit. Now, some spirits are a little stronger than others, depending upon where you're coming from and what you're doing. As a root worker, a root worker is a person who gets to the root of a problem, right? And we get to the root of the problem, we usually end up using various roots. And the roots don't always mean just the root of a plant. It is the root, the stem, the leaves. It could be a rock. It could be things from nature that have that spirit within them. But here's the key. You got to know how to wake that spirit up, right? You have to recognize that every spirit has a different energy level. Now, I'm speaking specifically in regards to spirits of herbs. I'm not talking about Orisha or Jesus, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the spirit of it's the different herbs.
I call it the God particle.
Yeah.
That everything has a God particle in it.
Absolutely.
And that you have got to connect to it. Like when you got to awaken its spirit.
Absolutely. Yes. And of course, a lot of times to use fresh herbs is amazing, but that's not always possible. I mean, up here in Detroit, we have 4 seasons, right? So I'm not going to be able to go out in my yard in the middle of December or January and pick lemongrass or peppermint because they're sleeping, right? They're sleeping. Plus, we have a lot of snow. I don't like the cold that much anyway, but I digress. So speaking of lemongrass, so this is a braided piece of some lemongrass that was braided. And this is something I grew, right? I grew this in my yard. So it's literally it's almost a yard long,
right?
And I love it. So lemongrass, one of the things I always tell people is that magic is science, right? There's a science when it comes to magic. Now, yes, every root, every herb has a good and a not so great way, right? Or a maleficent and a beneficent, energy to it, depending upon where you're coming, how you're coming to it, and what you want to use it for. And that's the other thing. You have to know what it is that you want to do. Right.
Yes, I would like
right.
For you witches out there, I just shot a video on focus, will, and intent. All right, is what we're discussing right now. And this is the big, you have to know within your self of self that this is what is you're doing. I thought I'd throw that out there real quick. Sorry, Chris.
I love it. No, you're totally fine, because it's just a conversation, right? We're just conversing, right? So it's just me and you, right?
Me and you and a couple of thousand other magical folks.
And that's all right. The more the merrier, right?
We want to hear your comments below as well. And yes, it is a casual discussion. But get back. I love lemongrass. Actually, it's one of my herbs that I lean into a lot. And I love it because I will associate some of my herbs within within a masculine feminine energy almost. Like for me, high John root is an old man with just really good, it's like the best hug ever.
Right. And he smells good too.
It's like grandpa, and you're always safe with grandpa. Lemongrass for me is what I would call a dancing lady.
I love that, because I can totally feel that energy, right? I love that analogy. And it's very interesting because I grow my own lemongrass, and some days I'll be outside and I'll be watching, I like to talk to the spirits of the herbs as the herbs are growing. You know what I mean? But to watch.
Important too when you want to connect.
Yeah, you got to talk to it. Absolutely. You have to almost introduce yourself. Like, hey, I'm Krystal. How's it going? I'm the one who is assisting you with maintaining life and growing. So I just really want you to grow and be as strong as you possibly can be, because I'm going to need your help later on down the road.
I have a rosemary bush that I whisper to all the time.
I love that. I love that. But I love that analogy of a dancing woman, because like to think about that, like imagining there's this woman on the dance floor, and maybe the music is a little slower, it's kind of sultry, so she's just kind of swaying along with it. But then there are times where maybe it's like a bachata, or it's some kind of like really upbeat flamenco, and she's stomping her feet. She's like, I'm here, I'm making this expression, and this is what it is. You will not ignore me. You cannot ignore me, right? And that's lemongrass.
Yes.
Lemongrass can be soft. Lemongrass can be harsh. Lemongrass can cut you, right?
Because it's one of the herbs, one of its fascinations. If you put your hand on it going upward, you're fine. If you put your hand going downward, you're going to get little spikes.
It's not fun. It's not pleasant. Right.
No, but you need to have that connection with each herb. Spend time with it. However, your mental imagery works. All right. Like I said, and it's not that I categorize all my herbs like this. So I have all sorts of very strange relationships back there. Okay. And there's a couple of them that as soon as I pick it up, I just start muttering under my breath. I'm like, yeah, I know about you. All right. We've got to work together. Right.
But you said something so incredibly important that I need to repeat it. You have to build that relationship, right? All right. So I'm talking about, herbs that are growing in my yard, right? But what if you go and you just go to your nearest metaphysical shop or Botanica shop or Botanica or whatever, and you're pulling like calendula off the wall, or you pull some, chopped up lemongrass. And this is lemongrass I chopped up from my yard, right? How do you wake it up? How do you recognize that spirit? I love to put it in like a small bowl. Let me see. Oh, there's my hickory. Hold on one second. I should have had this earlier.
Oh, it's
I'm just gonna. So a hickory,
a nice natural bowl.
Yeah, it's a natural bowl. I love using wood. Ceramic is also good because it's glass made from sand. All this other stuff. But hickory is amazing, and it's the shell of a melon, right? From what I believe it's because it's a cassava. right? Cassava melon. And they come in so many different sizes. So I'm a strong believer in breathing life, right? So to some people, you know what? I really wish I'm gonna hold it. Can you smell it? You probably can't smell it, but you know, so I wish we had like scratch and sniff television, right? Right. Just smell it. I will touch it. You know what I mean? I will run it through my fingers. And as I'm doing this, I'm just thinking about what it is that I want this root to assist me in accomplishing. You know, whether usually I use my lemongrass a lot for cleansing. Look at it. I love it. I love it. The lemongrass is also really good for helping to bring forth things, right? Doesn't it smell great? Yeah, I love it. And let me tell you a little secret. There are times where I'll have like lemongrass steeping in some olive oil, right? And let's say I'm mopping my floors. I use pine sol with some fresh pine, you know, essential oil in it because whatever. And I'll also put a couple of drops of that lemongrass oil into my pine sol water. And you want to talk about changing the energy. So let me back up. There are herbs that are sweet herbs, and then you have bitter herbs, right? Now, to me, the sweet herbs are ones that could also be classified as cooling. Peppermint, basil, lemongrass, bay, right? And then some of the bitter herbs, the ones that are hotter, ginger, cayenne, sulfur, right? Things like this are those bitter herbs are usually ones that are used to push away, right? Now, ginger is something that is you push away for something better to come. Because don't we use ginger to assist in our digestion, right? So it helps get things moving, right? It's productive.
First thing is somebody or even me, if I start to feel my tummy a little off, I'm up at the store getting a piece of fresh ginger root.
Yep. A little bit of ginger root and a tablespoon of honey, girl, you in there.
I like to take a lemon, cut it in half, and just put it in the bottom of my teacup and pour hot water on top of it and ginger and honey in, and just let that lemon sit down there and seep it all out. Right. Sorry, I get off subject, but I'm like,
that's okay.
I'll tell all you witches out there, ginger root, it works. It is just so good for your digestive system. All right. And it's also anti-inflammatory for your internal organs. And so if you are sick, it is the best thing that you can take. It is not excluding any type of medical treatment. Do those first. All right. Don't be foolish. Okay.
I know that's right. So with lemongrass, so let's say that I want to, like I make my own Van oil, right? And so I always put a couple blades of lemongrass in the oil itself with the lodestones because I want to attract that goodness. You know what I mean? So let's say that I am creating something and I want to bring something to me, right? But in order for me to bring something to me, I have to clear out some stuff. All righty. Now, peppermint is amazing for cleansing things out. Lemongrass fills in that space that was cleansed.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So let's say that I want to bring some kind of prosperity, but it would be a short-lived prosperity because lemongrass in Detroit, it's an annual herb.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a perennial. All righty. Now, if I was somewhere down south where this could grow year round, then yeah, it would be long-term prosperity because it's something that it would be a cycle of a continued cycle, right?
Right.
So here we have this lemongrass, and I'm just sitting here and I'm just touching it and playing with it. I'm allowing myself. Oh, here's a secret. When you're doing this work, it's not about control. It's about allow, right? You have to allow that spirit. You have to allow yourself to open up where you can feel the energy. And I'm telling you, like right now, I'm getting goosebumps because this lemongrass is going, woo!
We're just, magic happens when you lit it. When you said, when you allow it to. Get past your own self and tune in. I know, like when I go to a Botanica and I take something off of the shelf, I mean, I sort of do the little roll around, start trying to see if there's any, because unfortunately not all botanicas carry fresh herbs.
True story. True
Um,
story.
some are a little too dead to find the spirit in.
Well, you got to dig deep if you can. Sometimes we can't get that deep, right?
Yeah, typically, you know, their herbs have a shelf life. They start to decompose and go back to the earth, and spirits done left it. You know? And so it's so important that if you do have herbs, you keep them, you know, current, up to date. Just I would not pull this off the shelf 3 years later and think I'm going to have the same efficiency as the herb that you have playing within the bowl there.
I know, it just feels so good. I love it. I love it.
You have good herb, you do, and that's part of it, is you start connecting to it. That's why it's so important to get your magical supplies. Either you grow them or from within our community. All right.
Yes, absolutely.
And of course, you're going to buy what you can afford. And if you can afford a dollar store cinnamon stick, you go get that cinnamon stick, honey, and you breathe spirit back into it.
That's it. Oh, that's a good point. So how does one breathe spirit back into it? For me and what I do, it's with a cigar.
I was getting ready to say that. I was like, you get a cigar out. Start putting some smoke up and around it.
And you shotgun it.
Start muttering some words.
Yep.
I like to.
And like with this, it's like either out, because it's kind of hard to speak out loud when you're, you know, insufflating, I think it's called, or shotgunning to keep it easy. But as the smoke is surrounding it, and see, what's funny is if the herb was not awake, the smoke would carry around it more. It blew away.
It left.
Right. It left. Because it's like, what you doing? We awake? You tripping. Anywho, so there are so many different ways that you can wake up an herb. But one of the things I'd like to do besides shotgunning a cigar is touching it. It's touching. It's feeling it. It's almost massaging it. It's releasing those oils that are still in it. You know, so as you're doing this and you're starting to smell the lemongrass, then I talk to it. I put it up to my mouth. And I tell it what I want it to do. I breathe life. I breathe the life of my intention into the herb for it to carry out on my behalf. All righty. Because at the end of the day, we're partners in this. Me and this herb, this root, we're partners. If I don't wake this herb up properly, it's not going to do what I need to do.
I teach folks to use their magical breath.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I love that.
That nice 3-count inhale, 3-count exhale, and take that fourth, final oomph of you can and lay it on. Let it be the breath of your spirit.
Yep, that's it. It's that spirit connection. It's my spirit connecting to this spirit. It's namaste. May the spirit in me speak to the spirit in you. Right? You know?
And it makes, we use slightly different phraseology and terms, but we're all really doing the same thing.
Absolutely. And like for me, in the way that I was raised, I'm a 4th generation root worker. Now, understand something. This doesn't mean that I was sitting at the table with my mom and my grandmother, like, babe, we're going to do some root work today. No, it doesn't work that way. It's things that you come into understanding as you get older and go, holy shit, that's what they were doing. Holy smokes, I mean.
I get a lot of times when folks hear that, they think that it was like Hogwarts School of Magic that you attended.
Right.
And you're like, no, I was 12 at the time.
Yeah.
My daughter deals with that because she was raised in the community. People will be like, wow. And she'll be like, no, I was, you know, a small child. And even when she was a teenager, she really didn't care what the old people were doing.
Yeah.
We were, you know, but now she's starting, like what you said, to look back and be like, that's what y'all were doing. That made sense. Because you cannot explain to an 8-year-old what you're doing. It's not for keeping knowledge, but you learn, and also it's around you. So it's, because it's everyday life. We don't explain everyday life.
Exactly. Now, my granddaughter, so in this house, there's 3 generations. It's myself, 2 of my children, and my granddaughter. right? And so my granddaughter gets to help me with stuff. Sometimes she'll come downstairs. I'll ask her to use my mortar and pestle and grind up some allspice. Because that's the other thing. There are certain times where you do need to use an electric grinder, right? But where I can, I put muscle into it. And guess what? That's energy. That's energy. Some people like to wake up herbs with like asperging, like gin or brandy. Like for me, I don't drink, so I'd use coffee when it wasn't. But see, I use coffee when I need it to be like this.
That's really, I'm sitting here going, coffee. Now that's a good one. My typical go-to if I'm going to do something like that is a good rum.
Okay. Yep.
For that's just me personal. It's like you said, brandy, wine. I mean, honey, if you're feeling like you need to be jumpy, get you some of that good red Kool-Aid.
There you go. Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
And sometimes also spirit wants what spirit wants. So if you feel compelled to put lemonade on it, or it's something that sounds so, sweet tea type things,
right?
Do it. That's what that
absolutely
spirit is saying to you. They want that crappy ass Miller Lite beer.
No, Lord. But again, you're making a great point. And that is, in order for you to hear, you have to allow it, right? You got to let it. So there are times where like, I don't need to asperge. There are times I don't need to shotgun a cigar. There are times where literally just me utilizing the energy that's within me and just touching and feeling, waking these herbs up. Now, some people are like, are using your right hand, your left hand. I'm right-handed dominant. So I'm using my right hand to give that energy of, come on now, let's go. Let's wake, right? And I think that's also very important. So with the lemongrass, lemongrass can be used for so many different things, but again, it's about the spirit. And even though I'm using lemongrass, this still goes the same with hibiscus, right?
Oh, I just got a good thing of hibiscus.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love hibiscus. So I'm gonna see if I can hold it like that. There we go. Oh. So we got great hibiscus.
Oh, this is one of those. See, now, hibiscus, I have a whole thing. Hibiscus was a French aristocrat lady.
Okay. Now, I see where you're, because you know what, for me, hibiscus is very, it's very like tightening. You know what I mean? It is actually astringent, like pomegranate. So an old French aristocrat lady who's sitting there like, that makes total sense. But then on the other side, we have calendula, right? Now, calendula to me is wise, but fun.
Yes, see, now we have a couple of the witches here at the cottage, which dance with the fae.
Okay.
And the calendula they like to use, and when they start using it, you can almost see like little sparks of fairies.
I'm sure.
It is.
I'm sure.
It's this wonderful, wise old trickster of an energy.
Okay, I can see that. And I can see that.
And it's really fascinating because you can see a whole different energy coming out of that root when the fairy witches come out and play. I love that. Of them that come out to the cottage periodically.
Nice.
And it's always such a treat when they're around.
I dig that.
That's why we don't have any calendula right now, is because we used it all.
I'm mad at you. But here's the other thing. I had in my class, I do teach like classes on root work and stuff like that. And I give the homework of go to the grocery store, because where we are right now, it's cold, and get some fresh herbs, get some fresh peppermint, get stuff from different, so you can do like a peppermint, an onion, like a chive, and a third thing, you know what I mean? And use your receptive hand and hold it and just see if you can feel that energy. Like me feeling the energy of this is part of my lineage. It comes naturally for me. It comes naturally for my kids, my grandkids, right? But other people might have to work at it. You know what I mean? And that's okay, because there are things that I have to work at,
It's when you first start out, it is as simple as taking the herb and putting it in your hand and just sort of closing your eyes and letting your mind wander.
So what I invite everyone to do is get a plant, get a flower, and then get what I call a seed. Like this is star anise.
Oh, yes.
All righty. And just literally put one in your hand and try to feel it. You know what I mean? Put it down, rinse your hands in some cold water because that resets the energy. Okay. And then take another one and hold on to it. And then put that down and do the same thing. And then get like, and I call them hard herbs, hard roots, because sometimes feeling the energy of like a star anise or clove, right? Like clove, sclavos, just clove buds.
I picked cloves.
All right, cool. Now, did you know that if you grind cloves and lemongrass together, it's amazing for resetting the energy in your house or even outside?
Oh, I've never done that, but I'm going to do it now because I'm like,
do it.
That is just that's good ingredients coming together.
And it's using what you got
in the lemon because
right.
I love my cloves. And it's like there's something about taking my clove and just feeling it.
Yeah.
And I like cloves a lot.
So what's funny about star anise or ani, depending on where you're coming from and how it's pronounced, but I'm in Detroit, so we say star anise.
That's what we call it too.
Good deal. Good. Because we're like, no, honey, it's a knee. Okay. Is it a knee? Is it a nigh? Like whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about? Good. Okay. Leave me alone. But what's amazing about this is that it has such a very potent and grounding energy. You know what I mean? I mean, it smells like black licorice. So that can actually be used to keep people away because a lot of people don't like the smell of black licorice. So you can literally take lemongrass and black licorice or star anise and put them together to repel.
I know that.
All righty. Yep, exactly. Yeah, and the star anise, I'm sorry, and the lemongrass and star anise, grind them together, burn it outside to repel. And here's how it works. The lemongrass, because we talked about earlier how when you rub your hand along one side, it's smooth, but if you go back the other way, it's going to be a problem. This is when you would work this root to keep someone away or to keep something away. All righty. And the star anise, it also helps to heighten your intuition. You know what I mean? So if you're using the star anise, you'll also be able to see, you'll intuit if there's anything else that you may need to do. But at the baseline, get away from me. It's like eating black jelly beans. Ugh, I don't like black jelly beans. So, some people do. I'm not mad at you. However, I think they're disgusting, but there's no judgment for me at all because this is a safe space. It's all safe. Anywho, so I invite people to take their time, and that is something that that a lot of people don't realize or forget. Maybe your first spell might not work. That's okay. Note what didn't go right. Write it down. You have to be methodical about this. What were your steps? It's like the scientific method, hypothesis, purpose, materials, process, results, and then retest, right? And it's the same kind of thing. So it's like, if you're going to use, like for me, lemongrass and clove work really well together. Okay, well, maybe the clove doesn't work for somebody else, but maybe allspice would work. You know what I mean? So it's also about being malleable and very fluid. In order for you to be fluid, you have to be patient, which means you're going to have to allow for stuff to happen or not.
And really, I love the way you're playing that because I'm like that, I talk about we all have biscuit recipes.
Absolutely.
And there's grandma wouldn't tell you her biscuit recipe.
Yep.
There's basic ingredients in all of our recipes that are the same, similar, but get off on what we're doing. And for some of us, we like cheddar biscuits, other like garlic, some want buttermilk. That's what magic, it's about taking that basic recipe and making it yours.
Absolutely. And that's also the beauty of magic, because that's when you and magic becomes a more symbiotic relationship. You know what I mean? Because you're feeling it, it's feeling you, and that's where you grow. That's where you grow. But of course, and I didn't mention this, make sure that you are cleansing and protecting Please and thank you.
I was to say, for your first magical working, always work protection or cleansing.
Yes.
If you are bored on a full moon, do a cleansing and a protection.
That works. Yeah. And try different stuff. Because I mean, you can use lemongrass, right? You can use bay leaves for removal and cleansing. What else can you do? You could use, I'm always thinking about green stuff.
You're about green stuff. The go-to, if in doubt, use rosemary.
Yep. Juniper, but juniper can be hot. So if you're prone to instability, that could throw you in one area or the other. So use that as a loss. But rosemary is amazing. Pine is another good one. And by the way,
your cedars.
Yes.
Are really, really good on that as well. That's where there is. And you have to find the one that you and the spirit are talking to each other on.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important. Like what Krystal was doing earlier was taking it and just playing with the bowl of lemongrass, connecting with it. All right. When you're using different ingredients, you need to at least know a little something about that individual. And that does not mean that you referred to Scott Cunningham's book of practical medical herbs.
Right.
This is about taking the time to go read what region it grows in, where it's from, how it got where it's at, its growth habits. You know, and some of them have some really cool, fun stories to them. You know, like yarrow, which is a lot of time Achilles' heel. The entire mythology with when Achilles, one of the Greek gods, got caught on his foot, they put yarrow on it so that way his feet would be fast.
That's awesome.
Learn some of the stories of what it's associated to, why it's associated to it. Basil actually means royal. All right. So when you're using that, when I'm using that herb, all of that knowledge in my head about basil and this, you know, and that it's one of our longest cultivated herbs. We've been cultivating it for over 5,000 years now.
That's amazing, isn't it?
That knowledge translates to the energy spirit connection that translates to your magic working.
Now, one of the things that I find that I love about what you said is like, as I am a person who, so there's this book that I just got about 1.5 years ago, and it's called Working the Root, and it's by Michelle L. Lee, right? So she spent like, I think 10 or 15 years doing research on Southern healing practices. You know what I mean? And of course, a lot of people get that and go, oh my God, this is like, you know, a root work compendium. You have to know how to read it. You know what I mean? You have to know how to read it, because not everything is just going to be laid out blatant in black and white. And it's just exactly what you said. Is it masculine? Is it feminine? You know what I mean? What is this herb used for, you know, in that healing state? You know what I mean? What is it used for? What part of the body does it affect?
Right.
You know, does it affect your mind? You know what I mean? Because poppy seeds, of course, are going to affect your mind because they come from an opium plant, right? So you put a whole bunch of those in something, you can mess somebody up. You know what I mean?
And it's, you know, I think the mistake I see a lot of our new folk doing, like I said, is they get the book, this has this list of herbs, they go buy it, and then they sprinkle it.
Yeah. And then but at the same time, like I did that because I didn't know any better. You know what I mean?
Oh, we
it was
all
just
sprinkled
right
to start with.
Exactly. We all started somewhere. But as you start there, you're like, oh, I done messed up. What do I do? You know what I mean? What do I do?
And learning, because like here at the cottage, one of the every full moon, we set a cauldron out on the table over to the other side here, and each witch goes up to the wall and picks the herb that they're vibing with that evening. And we'll take it out and connect with it, and then put a handful in the cauldron we blend all of our energies together. We take that herbal mixture out and we put it into our fire to wake up our magic and to help us connect each other. And, you know, and some of the mixtures that we do, oh my gosh, they're brilliant.
I bet they are.
Will come up, but we use herbs to connect to each other, to connect our magic so that we're all encircled together now. All right.
Like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like with spiritual waters, you know, everybody can spray spiritual waters, you know, like the Florida waters, the Bay Rums, the Kanangas. If they're all spraying, it's that same energy that everybody is expressing. And guess what? Spiritual waters come from, you guessed it, herbs. So, you know.
And I do want to stop real quick and give a shout out because I actually have it behind me.
Awesome.
This is Krystal's Bay Rum water, spiritual water that she makes. And I got it a couple of days ago. And as I was telling her, I'm having a less love relationship with it. It's great. I did it earlier here in the cottage before we started, and I was just sitting here with a smile on my face.
Like, this is great.
Yes, this is so what I needed.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I also I make Florida water as well.
Oh,
you know? Yeah. And so, and my Florida water changes colors depending on what time of the year, you know, because I get fresher ingredients versus dry, you know, but it still feels amazing. I love my stuff.
I like my spiritual sprays for changing my energies or changing the energy around me. I've had moments where life's a little too hectic and I could stand on my porch and just spray myself down.
Yep.
Jump up and down for a couple of moments, find that place of gratitude, and then go back in and smile.
Yes. So here's something else I want to point out. Anytime you're using herbs, if you're picking herbs fresh, you need to ask permission. You need to thank it. You need to leave it like a gift of some sort. Like even in my backyard, I'll still put a couple of pennies down because it's giving a piece of itself for my benefit, you know? So there's a respect. There is a reciprocated respect. You respect the plant, the root respects you. You know what I mean? And if
take the time to find out, sometimes like I have sing my rosemary bush, I stop and sort of give a moment to see which branch it wants me to take.
Yes, absolutely.
It's willing to give up for me. It's willing to let me trim on it, but it wants this trim. Don't mess with this. This is really tune into it and take the time to trim it correctly according to how the plant wants.
Yep.
That's a real peeve of the rosemary bush. It gets a little I'll grab a branch and I can feel that. Don't you touch that?
Don't you do it? Yeah.
You know, and the first time it happened, I'm like, ooh, damn.
Okay, my bad. Even like when I harvested my lemongrass, I didn't cut all of it because they were just like, I'm just going to say it this way. They were like, no, we need to finish our cycle. You know, they wanted to die naturally. You know what I mean? And that's also respecting. It's respecting that cycle. You know, everybody has a right to die respectfully. Everything has a right to die respectfully. It is not fair for us to go through and be like, well, you know, you're mine. We're going to wipe it out. No, you know. So yeah, so it's so vitally important to recognize that for every root, there's a respect level. There's a level of love. There's a level of maybe even adoration and admiration. There's nothing better than going outside and seeing this bud, this calendula that has like fully bloomed, and just looking at that and going, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Look at how the light and the sun plays with the shadows, and look how it's glistening and glowing. Sometimes you just want to leave it there, you know, and just appreciate it for what it is. That doesn't mean you have to take it. Watch it through its process. You know, if you're growing your own stuff, try to not touch anything for the first year that you grow. You know what I mean? So like, if you like, when I first started, I would do 2 lemongrass plants. I would cut on one, but not cut the other. And that allowed me to see, because I'm also a very visual person. You know, I could read all day, but I'm also incredibly visual. So if I can see how these fronds of this lemongrass plant are getting taller and getting bigger, it also lets me know internally I can wait a little longer. Maybe I want it to become as mature as possible before I ask it for a piece of itself, because that maturation could mean light and day, you know, or night and day to the work that I'm doing. And this work really is about patience and understanding and just going, okay, not today, and being okay with that. So also acceptance. You can't rush no root. They're gonna be like, screw you, not happening.
Yeah, it's a season.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that we have different seasons, or you know, it's not that we always talk the year and a day as a season.
Mm-hmm.
Seasons, you'll have this, you may not be, what am I trying to say? If you're not in a position to grow your herbs right now, you have to use store-bought herbs, then that's the season of that. It will change. It could change to another season where you're able to grow, you know. This may not be your season to vibe in on herbs. You may be sitting here watching this thinking, yeah, I just really don't use them a lot. That's okay too.
Yep.
You don't have to do with root working. It does end up typically back to the root, but that's because you're using the energies that spirit gave you around you. You're using Mother Nature.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so we're all part of it, but I just don't want folks to feel like that, you know, I have to be able to vibe like what you and I are talking about on herbs and things like that. If you are feeling really called to learning to work with herbs, the first thing you need to do is go to your kitchen cabinet.
Yes, use what you got.
These are herbs that you've already connected with on some level. You're cooking with them.
Absolutely.
You put them in your food. Now write them down and start learning about their history, their stories, and their magic. I categorize my herbs 3 ways. Can I drink it? Is it edible? Can I burn it? Is it safe? And of course, I bury everything I get a hold of because I'm a conjuring witch.
Gotcha.
So in the end, I'm like, ooh, let's go bury it. Either that or I'm going to dig it up.
I love it.
That's my other after midnight activities.
There you go. Midnight is sexy. I'll tell you what. Go ahead.
But when you're learning to work with herbs, some of the herbs that you do work with are potentially baneful. They are dangerous. They are not digestible. Some of the herbs that we work with within incense do have a level of toxicity to them. Cinnamon cannot be burned, and it can be. You're not going to appreciate what happens if you burn it in a closed, unventilated area.
Absolutely.
It can actually give you some massive respiratory problems really freaking quick. But you can safely burn cinnamon in a well-ventilated area using a little bit.
Yep. Or even outside.
Outside is even better. You know?
And please don't burn Datura. Please don't do that.
Datura is another one. A port in a closed space can send you on a psychedelic trip leaving the farm and can potentially give you seizures. All right, so I want to, as we're winding this video up, sort of talk a little bit on the baneful side. Is you need to know, don't just because the book said it, you go Google it 3 times.
Right.
All right, get 3 different opinions, 4 different opinions, and make damn sure what you're doing, and you write your stuff down. You know, you heard Krystal, you've heard me say it, I don't know how many times, which is, I wish I had wrote down what I was doing to begin with. I would be so smart right now.
Girl, who you telling?
I mean,
I feel you on that
I'm going to write it down later. Now I am very good about it. I write it all down. But probably my first 10 years in the craft, I didn't write stuff down.
Because, you know, we're going to remember it.
I'm a remember.
I'm gonna remember it. Yeah.
You know, but
I remembered I should have wrote it down. That's what I remembered.
I do. That's what I think. I'm like, oh, I
Mhm.
mean, especially with some of the stuff, of people that I was around in my 20s, some good information.
Mhm.
And my little proud self was sitting there thinking, I can remember it. No, you can't.
Nope.
But
Nope.
working with the herbs, it is so important that we write that down. We
Mhm.
double check our information and build upon that.
Mhm.
All right.
It does, yeah. And nothing happens overnight, right? So you have to take your time, and it's okay. No one is saying that you have to rush this. It would behoove you, baby, just take your time. Just take your time.
I was like, yeah, and you and I have been stirring the cauldron for many years now.
That's right, yeah.
Like we said, we started out sprinkling. We didn't know any better. It took us a
Yep.
while before we could wake it up and
Mm-hmm.
connect to the spirit. And so it's every year builds upon the next.
It does.
I've been standing in circles now for almost 40 years, and I still
Wow.
learn stuff. Spirit's still revealing itself to me.
How beautiful. Yeah, it does, and spirit will continue. And they'll continue to like show you stuff, especially as you grow, because you become more ready to learn more things. It just continues just to one on top of the other. As long as you have a solid foundation, just one on top of the other.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right, Krystal, you and I are going to get back together, which is, I promise I will have her come back up. She has the living bridges.
No, Bridging Worlds Botanica.
Bridging Worlds. I don't
Right.
know. So sorry. Bridging
Okay.
Worlds Botanica. I will have it below where you'll be able to see the link to her site. She does spiritual soaps as well, which we didn't talk about today because that's a whole nother subject.
Right. But that's just one. That's my Florida water soap coming out April 1st.
I cannot recommend it enough, witches. When we talk about a good spiritual bath, getting good spiritual soap, this is the folks you go to get the good soap. I make up soap once a year, some bars for, myself. But I'm just like, I'm in awe of what you do, because I know
Thank you.
it takes the commitment, the energy, everything, all that magic.
I love it. I love it, though. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing it.
So, witches, please reach out and support Krystal. Again, I can't recommend the Bay Rum enough. All right. I'm going to be ordering a case of it, on my own.
Hey, now.
And I want to thank you so much for coming on to the House of Witchcraft channel. It is just amazing, the magic world we live in and all the wonderful people we have out here.
Well, I definitely appreciate the invite. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right, witches, I want to thank all y'all so much for watching. Of course, if it's your first time here, please hit that subscribe button that you see down below. And we've got the House of Witchcraft membership that you can now join and support the house. And I hope you all have as bright of a blessed day as we're having. It never changes. It's always the same. Amen. Blessed be. Ashe and Ebobo.